social media makes it so that every day there's basically something happening in the world that is either negative or bad. And it's super easy to get distracted and not really be able to focus on your own life. So I wanted to show you a quick clip from my interview with Belmar recently, in which we talk a little bit about this because I think it will bring a lot of value to your life. So I want to show you this clip real quick. And also, if you didn't watch the full interview, make sure that you check it out. I'll be linking it in the description, and then obviously check out some of the other links in there too. And that's about it. Let me show you the video.
You know, my identity is not attached to subscribers, not to anything.
Or wealth.
My identity is attached.
That's a big one.
Yeah, I mean, bro, because here's the thing: all that shit is fleeting, right? Your followers are fleeting, fame is fleeting, money is fleeting, success is fleeting, accolades and the goodwill of others is fleeting, how people perceive you and all the compliments, all that shit is fleeting. So if you find your identity placed in materialistic things, in accolades and success, when you no longer have that, then you no longer have an identity. And that's when people have identity crisis, and you see all these people going into these weird groups in society because they have no identity. They don't know who they are. So they need to conform and mold into something. And it's those people that are the anomalies, the glitches in the matrix that I speak to, the people that are ready to be unplugged. It's not my job to do forceful shit. You know, I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not the loud guy. I'm not the guy that flexes. I just talk. And if people want to listen, so be it. And if it resonates, so be it. And if it doesn't, so be it as well. It's not a big deal.
I love that. I think that's a common comment that we got on the last one is a lot of people felt like you had some deep-rooted wisdom that they were really searching for. And I think that's exactly what you're getting at. Is not necessarily showcasing the latest Facebook ad strategy, but rather a foundational piece in the puzzle that people are just fundamentally missing. So let me think about, what do you think now? Because last time we talked, again, everything was crashing, things were bad. And now we're kind of at a point where things are still kind of bad. Maybe looking up, maybe looking like they could go worse. What is your take on the current economic landscape, bro? Because we got this war, we got just so many things going on. Everyone's confused and scared.
So first is understanding that as we enter, and we are already in it, but it's very, very new. The information era where there's an overload of information. What happens when you have an overload of information? You fry your receivers, right? So this train wreck over here, this war over here, this motherfucker steals billions over here, this person gets murdered over here, this person kills, this person frames her boyfriend, gets a boyfriend put in prison, right? So you have all these fucking verticals taking place simultaneously, hitting you all at once, and you think the world is melting. But it's not, right? It's not melting because shit is taking place all day, every day, all around the world. For example, today it is Thursday, February 16th, which is important that we mention the date because Nigeria had an issue, right, with the Nigerian central bank. And long story short, right, and it doesn't affect us what's taking place in Nigeria in any way, shape, or form, except potentially getting those emails from those princes, which now they don't have their wealth, right, obviously. So we're going to be getting those emails. But now we're in a situation whereby the central bank of Nigeria has said, hey, you know what? The currency that we utilize is no longer valid. We are introducing these CBDCs. So they did a recall. They sent out people to go to people's homes, go get all the cash. Why? Because 80% of all of the transactions that were taking place in Nigeria were peer-to-peer cash transactions. So you have these transactions in cash. So you have all the Nigerian people hoarding all of their cash in their homes. They're not utilizing the banks. Therefore, the banks can't do what? If you don't deposit the money into the bank can't fractionalize that money and turn the Ponzi on, right? So there is no Ponzi, there is no printing of money because the people are holding the money because they don't trust the banks, obviously. So now there's banks that are defaulting or not able to get customer funds out. There's a limit of like $55 or $45 a day in ATM withdrawals. The cash is no longer considered a legal tender, and they're trying to introduce a central bank digital currency and really pushing that all under the guise of we need everybody using financial services. We need everybody using our stuff. We need to make it accessible to everybody. Sure, 50% of people in Nigeria don't have a bank account, but that probably is an infrastructure issue and a reputational issue, right? And a good faith issue versus a CBDC versus having another currency. All the people want in Nigeria is a Venmo like experience where they can move money from their bank to another person's bank. They don't want CBDCs. They don't fuck with it. They don't like it. They don't fuck with the central bank. They don't fuck with the government. Now you have an election taking place. So they're using, right, the entire political toolkit. And one of the political toolkits is money. So they're using money as one of these political tools to win elections. I don't know where it's going to end.
Right.
But that point is to prove that fucked up shit is taking place around the world 24/7. We just got reported 40,000 people dead in Turkey from the earthquake. Like, how do you justify all of this crazy shit taking place within 1 week? It's very hard to digest because we're not used to it, right? Usually up until, I don't know, 50 years ago, you would never hear about all this tragedy all at once. And it's very easy in a world that is prone to negativity and forged for criticism and for the selling of blood. And what I mean by the selling of blood is that blood sells, right? You put blood on TV, it sells. You talk shit about somebody on the internet, it sells. But the good stuff, the value, the things that nurture people's souls, nobody shares that. Nobody talks about that. And it's those things that we often neglect, but they're still there. So my recommendation, first of all, is before you even look at the markets, is understand, have an internal conversation with yourself. Before you look at the condition outside, look at yourself and ask yourself, what is my condition internally? Am I swayed by every doctrine that's out there? Am I swayed by every article that's out there? Does every piece of information that's out there move me like a little boat rocking in the middle of the ocean, or do I have control? Yes, I have this data set, this information, but I'm still grounded in my truth, in my goals, and my principles, and nothing that is around me, circumstantial, will guide me away from it. So being able to understand what's taking place in the world as a data set, not allowing it to impact you spiritually or emotionally, and allowing that information to be utilized to build the future that you want. And unfortunately, there's a lot of negative shit. There's a lot of bad shit taking place every single day in the world, and it can be really hard to deal with and cope with. But at the end of the day, it's ebbs and flows, right? So there's this universal law known as the law of opposites, right? And this idea is that for every good amount of energy, there's an equal proportion bad energy, right? It's how the matrix keeps itself in check, right? It's how you're correct. It's how the matrix keeps itself in balance. So shit's taking place in Turkey. Somewhere else in the world, somebody's benefiting in equal proportion, but on the positive side of that energy. You could say it's the law of opposites, but you could also say it's the second law of thermodynamics, which is energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only be transformed. And if you look at transformations, it's all kind of like a spectrum. So heat and cold, for example, are a spectrum of what? The same exact thing. It's just how you perceive it. But it's just temperature, right? Or temperature, once again, is a measurement, but it's not really real. But it's how you perceive that spectrum. It's the same thing with good and bad. It's all within a spectrum, and it's your ability to gauge your worldview that's going to allow you to navigate that positively, negatively, with a good attitude, a bad attitude, with positivity and expectation, or with dread and doubt. It's all about your perspective, and it needs to be grounded based off of your principles so that then you can absorb all of the information outside and begin to create the future that you want.